warming bees. It's me, Don B. And today, from you can see at the title, I will be telling you guys some wonderful stories. So this morning I woke up and the first thing that came to my mind was to say, let's tell people some stories on YouTube. But I had this in mind for about a week ago because I have this niece. Her name is Bumblebee. Hi, Bumblebee, and she likes stories, but she's overseas now with her father, and due to the coronavirus, she can't be able to be here. So I planned on telling her stories, fairy tales, folk tales, stories to her so she can feel like she's with me and feel engaged during this crisis because she's not at school. So yes. So this morning I said, you know what? I need to tell a story today. So as I woke up, of course I praise the Lord. I thank God for waking me up this morning. As I woke up, I went into the book room, took out one of my favorite books, and like I was scanning through them, because I was saying, which story? So I took one of my favorite books. I have this book from I was about 12 when I was in grade 7. It's called Take Me Not Take Me. It's a Caribbean folktales book. And I said, this is a good one. I wanted to find the Anansi one because I wanted to read that one, but I couldn't find that one. So I said, this one close to Anansi because it's folk, So I'm here now about to tell you guys some stories. Now in this book, it's a book with different stories from different countries, different authors. So you have from Jamaica, you have from Guyana, Montserrat, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, that's about it. It's about 10 stories actually. I'm about to tell you guys one of my favorite one. I want Belize, Take Me Not Take Me, which is the book itself, Take Me Not Take Me. And that's on page 52. So guys, I want you to draw your chair, sit down with a popcorn or with a little snack and just sit down and just make way have some little fun. Jamaicans, are probably Caribbeans too, when Louise Bennett do her ring games on TV. Yes, I was born then. Yes, it was 2008. I would always gather my chair up at the front of the TV. I try to figure out how I say, carry my chair up to the TV and watch her. So gather up because we're going to tell some stories. Take me 52. Alright. There is a CD also at the back. When my mom gave me the book and I put it in the CD player, it was only audio. But I listen to it. It did nice, but I did always want to hear how me so I did. So I just take it out and just read all about the story them. My style, because people tell stories differently, and me, they never match with my, I know I can't find the page 52, don't I? 52. Alright. So here it is, and this is from Belize. Big up my Caribbean countries, because together we are one. As you can see, I'm in my color-ish. I don't know which, I know gold this is a gold I wash out and burn out. But my green, my black, and my yellow or gold. That's my national colors. Anyways, ready? Take Me, Not Take Me by Myrana Manzanares. I don't know. Manazanis. Okay, Tata Dohende. There are different versions of Tata Dohende. I think this is probably about a folktale. I'm not sure. Depending on the origin of the story. This version comes out of the Creole culture in Belize. So the spelling of his name and his description differ from the previous story. Okay. The strange tale of... Okay. We're ready. Ready? Once upon a time, when time was time, when monkey sit down pan tree and spit out white line, there was a woman who lived with her 2 girls. One of the girls was not her real daughter, just a stepchild. Her real daughter was not very pretty, and her manners did nothing to make her attractive. Her stepdaughter was a beautiful dark skinned Creole girl who everyone liked because she was so kind and good. The stepmother did not like this girl named Nettie because she was more popular than her real daughter. One day, Nettie was sent to fetch water from the only well that was in the village where they lived. The teenager, I believe, or water pot that she used to carry the water once belonged to her stepmother's great grandmother. It was very precious. Every time Nettie was sent to get water, her stepmother would warn her to be careful because if she broke the teenager, she would have to go with that tata do hende for go find him back. I guess it's a Belize language. She would have to go with that tata do hende for go find him back. I think tata do hende probably is like, as me say, probably dopey man. I don't know. Let's continue. So Nettie always tried to be extremely careful when carrying it. One morning as she was walking down the road, holding tight to the treasure teenager, she didn't see the big stone in front of her. All she felt was a sharp pain in her big toe, and then she heard the splintering sound of the water pot as it smashed against a big rock. Nettie soon forgot about the pain as she tried frantically to gather the pieces of the teenager. She sat on the ground for some time, just cradling the broken pieces in her hands, wondering how she could get them back together and if she dared to go home. She finally decided that rather than risk going back home, she would find the road to Tata Dohende and see if he could give her back a similar water pot. Tata Dohende was a big giant of a man who only had 8 toes on his feet and 8 fingers. No big toes and no thumbs. Weird. His feet were turned backwards so that when you saw his footprints going one way, you knew he was going the other way. To reach the road that led to where he lived, you had to leave the village in a dory and cross the lagoon to where the plantations were. About 5 miles beyond the last plantation, the road to his home began. Nettie waited until early the next morning to set out on her long journey. First, she gathered different types of fruits that were in season: mangoes, cashews, golden plum, and bamboo caps. She quietly loaded them in the dory which was kept at the back landing of her home. Without waking up anyone, she shoved the small dory into the water and paddled away from the shore. By the time the sun was up, she had reached the other side of the lagoon, where the plantations were, and without wasting any time, she set out on foot carrying her precious provisions in search of the road which led to Tata Dohende. She didn't have much trouble finding it because she had heard people talk about it many times. Within a few hours, she had come to the end of the last plantation, so she decided to rest and have some of the fruits. By midday, she was walking down the road. She had not gone a mile when she saw something rolling towards her in the distance. She was so frightened that she wanted to turn around and run. But when she remembered the fate that might befall her if she did not return with the Tananja, she swallowed her fear and continued. Soon, the thing she saw rolled right up to her and rested at her feet. She was terrified and tried not to look down. But lo and behold, the thing spoke.
Please, dearie, you know want fi scratch me head for me now. It itch so bad but I can't reach it.
The voice was so sorrowful that it touched the kind girl's heart, and she looked down. What she saw almost sent her to an early grave. By her feet was Soso head, whole of grass buckle for here. She wondered how in the world she could scratch such a head. Nevertheless, she sat down, placed the head in her lap, and proceeded to scratch between the pieces of bottles. By the time she was finished, her fingers were cut and bleeding. The saucer head rolled out of her lap and said,
Thank you, dearie. Good day before you, bad day behind.
The girl didn't understand what was meant by that, so she just smiled and continued her journey. Before she completed the second mile, she saw another something coming down the road. Lord have mercy. She figured that nothing else could be as frightening as what she had encountered, so she didn't get too scared. This time, so hands stopped at her feet.
Please, dearie,
The hand said,
you know what? You bite my nails for me, no? Then too long and they get in on me way. You know what? You bite my nails for me, no? Then too long and they get in on me way.
Again, Nettie sat down and this time she bit and bit on the hard nails until her mouth was dripping with blood. When she was finished, the hand jumped out of her lap and said,
Thank you, dearie. Good day before you, bad day behind.
Nettie continued her journey and wished that she wouldn't meet anything else. But that was not to be. Before long, she saw 2 feet walking towards her in her distance. No, man. Oh gosh, she thought. I wonder what I'm going to have to do now. She didn't have to wonder long because Foot was talking to her.
Please, dearie, you wouldn't mind massaging my tired feet for me now. Not you. I did walk from morning and I don't think I could go 1 step further if I don't get some relief.
Again, Nettie sat down and took the 2 feet in her lap. She didn't know which foot to begin with because both were very hard and tough and rough to the touch. Presently, she picked the right foot and started with the little toe. She massaged each one until she finished. Then she tackled the left foot. When she got through and looked at her hands, they were both red and raw looking. Remember, she's going to find this man named Tata Doende. By the time she done deal with them people here. I cannot. Foot sprung out of her lap and said,
Thank you, dearie.
Mercy fall. Our frog.
That feel much better. Good day before you, bad day behind.
And with that, Foot disappeared out of sight. Nettie didn't even bother to ponder the meaning of the words because now it was getting late and she hadn't reached her destination. She sped up her progress by half running and half walking until she saw the side road which led off the main road. As she turned down the road, all the stories she had heard about Tata Doende kept going through her mind. How if he catches you and sees your 10 fingers, he would cut off your thumbs? There were many stories about Tata Doende, which made her very nervous, but she knew she had to continue. By the time she reached the clearing where the house was, it was late evening. She stood there looking up at the huge house, wondering if she had enough strength to get to the top. What should she do? Should she go upstairs and knock on the door now? Or wait until morning? Poor Nettie, she didn't quite know what to do, but she had to do something. Finally, she made up her mind to just walk up the stairs, knock on the door, because she thought nothing can be worse than going home without the teenager. Not true. God. When she reached the top of the stairs, she could hardly catch her breath. She couldn't believe it took so long. As she looked around her, she realized the sun had gone down and so it was dark. She was really frightened. She couldn't quite reach the doorknob, so with her last bit of courage, she knocked on the door. She stood trembling as the big door, opened. A huge woman looked down on her. Nettie was trembling. But when she heard the woman's voice, she looked up. The voice sounded just like the voice of Saucer Head, Saucer Hand, and Saucer Foot. But how could this be?
Hello, dearie. What can I do for you?
The familiar voice asked. Nettie looked up into the big woman's face, but she showed no sign of recognition. So Nettie thought she was mistaken. Nettie hung her head and told the lady her story. The lady told her not to worry because she was Tata Dohende's wife and that she was going to help her. Tata Dohende wouldn't be home for a couple of days, so she could spend the night and be on her way in the morning.
Dearie, where do you sleep when you were at home?
The lady asked. Nettie hung her head in shame and answered in a small voice, I sleep in a folk cub, ma. Mrs. Dohende showed her to the folk cub, and with the... So Miss couldn't just nobody put her in the folk cub. My God. Mrs. Dohende showed her to the folk cub, and without a word, Nettie went in and lay down. She was so tired that she fell asleep right away. When she woke up the next morning, she couldn't believe it. She was lying in a nice, soft, feather bed. She quickly jumped out of bed, frightened that she had done something wrong and that the lady wouldn't help her if she found out. She found Mrs. Dohende in the kitchen. Nettie said, Good morning. And Mrs. Dohende smiled and she spoke. How you sleep, dearie? She asked. You hungry? Not true. That voice, Nettie thought. But she didn't say anything about it when she answered. I sleep good, ma. And yes, ma, I kinda hungry for you. The lady gave her a small pot. Then she gave her 1 bean and 1 grain of rice and told her, Take this rice and this bean and cook in this pot with some water. A little fire hearth is in the corner over there. Now, when you're ready to eat, a little black cat will come around begging, and I want you feed him. You see this piece of thick? Use it and whap him crossing back. Nettie listened to the instructions and didn't question them. She just said, Yes, ma. Then Mrs. Dohende left and Nettie went to work. She put some water in the pot and then dropped the grain of rice and the 1 bean in it and set it on fire. To her amazement, in no time, the little pot was filled with rice and beans. As soon as the food was done, she felt a hairy body rubbing against her leg, the puss. When she looked down, it was the black cat. Nettie looked at the piece of stick and she didn't have the heart to beat the poor cat. So she gave it half the rice and beans and she ate the rest. See that now? She had just finished washing the pot when Tata Dohende's wife came in. Quickly, Nettie looked for the cat, but it had disappeared. Lord have mercy. Nettie was glad it had gone, especially when the lady asked her if she had beaten the cat. Nettie told her, Yes, ma. I nearly killed him. Lighthearted. As a matter of fact, I don't even know. As a matter of fact, I don't know even how they're taking a last breath. The lady gave a little smile and told her that was good. Nettie then asked her about the teenager. The lady pointed to a room in the tea house and told her to go in. When you get in that room, you will see all different kinds of teenagers. All of them will be shouting. Some will say, Take me! Others will say, No, take me! You must look around until you find one that is similar to the one you broke. Take it if it says, No, take me. Don't take any that says, Take me. Tata Dohende's wife also gave her 3 wishing balls and told her to break them after she got home. As Nettie turned to go into the room, the lady looked at her and said, Good day before you, bad day behind. Nettie swung round, but Mrs. Dohende was gone. Quickly, Nettie went into her room. The noise almost forced her back outside. But she had to get a teenager. She covered her ears because everywhere she turned, she heard,
Take me, I'ma take me, take me, I'ma take me.
Finally, she found a water pot like the one she had broken that said, Not take me. She looked around for the lady or the cat, but she didn't see either one. The door was open, so she hurried through it and ran down the steps. She was out of breath when she reached the bottom, but she didn't mind because she had the teenager. But then she realized that she didn't have the 3 wishing balls. She very carefully laid the teenager at the foot of the steps before running up again. She opened the door, and this time the noise was worse.
Take me, no take me, take me, no take me, take me, no take me, take me, no take me.
However, despite the noise, Nettie managed to find the 3 wishing balls. It seemed that the journey back took less time than the journey there. Pause, let me show you guys how it looks. So these are the thingy, the black puss. And I think this is Nettie, and she's surrounded by the teenagers. Alright, where am I? Back home, Nettie stood outside the house with the precious teenager held tightly in her hand. She looked at the wishing balls in her hand and threw the first one into the open space beside her house. To her surprise, up sprang a beautiful mansion. She threw the second and third balls immediately. A fence surrounded the mansion, and it was filled with everything she could ever want. There were even workers, cats, and dogs. Outside there were fowls in a coop. Nettie went inside and looked around, and she was very pleased. She went into the bedroom, and lo and behold, the bed she saw was similar to the bed in which she had slept at Tata Dohende's house. She walked over, placed the teenager carefully on the table, beside the bed, and sat down. She was so tired from her journey that she lay down and immediately fell asleep. When her stepmother spotted the new house beside hers, she was dying to know who owned it. In those days, it was common for strange things to happen. All the people in the area started wondering who the lucky person was. But there was no movement in the yard until the following morning, because that was when Nettie woke up. As soon as the stepmother saw movement, she called her daughter. "June, come here. Gather some eggs and go sell it next door. Make sure you get a peep inside the house and tell me what it's like." June as curious as her mother, so she set off very quickly. She was so surprised when her stepsister opened the door. She backed away and was about to run when Nettie spoke. "No run away, June. This is my home now. When I went to find the teenager, the tata down there, I got lucky. Come in so I can get the teenager." While Nettie went into the bedroom to get the teenager, June was busy taking stock of as many things as she could. So she was itching to get home to tell her mother. Nettie returned and gave her the teenager. "Please give Mama this for me." "Oh, where you come for?" "Oh, where you me come for?" Nothing," June stammered, forgetting why she was there. All she could think about was the news she had to tell her mother. She backed out through the door and was down the few steps and into her yard in seconds. She was out of breath, and she burst into the room where her mother had been waiting impatiently for her. "Mama, you don't want to believe who owned that pretty house. Danette, see Tinajaya? She sent it back. She said she got lucky when she went to Tata Doende's house. Ma, she have everything." Nettie's stepmother looked at her daughter and at the teenager in amazement. She gathered herself together and pushed her daughter into a chair. "Now listen to me, June. The same thing can happen to you. All you have to do is broke the teenager and go to Tata Doende for it. You're smarter than Nettie, and I'm sure you could do better than she." Well, that is all the encouragement that June needed. Without a thought, she smashed the Tata Doende. She smashed the teenager on the floor and said goodbye to her mother. She went off to the waterside, got in the dory, and paddled swiftly to the other side of the lagoon. So finish, guys, so finish. She pulled up the dory and made haste down the road which led to Tata Dohende's house. She was so intent on reaching. She didn't even notice Sosa head until it was right in front of her. She didn't even have time to be frightened before the head spoke to her.
Hello, dearie. You know what? Scratch me head for me now.
Before so head could finish June, you must say crazy. You think me going to ruin my delicate hand on that dead grass back her head? No way. And she was off. You know what happened after? Guys? From there and then, you know the moral of this story, this beautiful story. Do good and good will follow you. Where am I? The head just looked at her. June didn't hear the words that it muttered.
Bad day before you, good day behind.
And so was the pattern with Sosa hand and Sosa foot. June refused to help, and she always had a very degrading remark to make. And each time the matter was the same.
Bad day before you, good day behind.
Well, the same thing that happened to Nettie happened to June when she reached Tata Dohende's house. The only difference is that when she was asked what kind of bed she slept in, she said a feather bed. She woke up in a full cook. She cooked the grain of rice and the bean, and she got a full pot of rice and beans. But she ate all and beat the poor cat arm was killing it. When Tata Dohende's wife went into the kitchen, she could hardly walk because she was in so much pain. June didn't even notice that the cat had disappeared. Oh, so the cat probably be Tata Dohende, because she killed the post, like she had lick him, and I realized say the woman she had beat up. Well, my Lord. June was given 3 wishing balls and instructions to take the teenager that said, "Don't take me." But she didn't listen. When she got into the room, she said, I don't know who that old cow thing should have fooled. I not going to take no away, say, no take me. June couldn't wait to get home to share what she thought was her good fortune. For a moment, she felt guilty that she hadn't even said thank you. I was going to say thank you, but that's not what's in the book. But she soon forgot. She thought she heard the woman speak, but she didn't have time for that. If she had taken the time, she would have heard the woman saying,
Well, dearie, good day behind you, bad day before.
As soon as June got home, she yelled for her mother. Ma, look what I bring back. I get the teenager and 3 wishing balls. Let's make our house better than Nettie's. With this, she wished exactly that and broke the ball in the living room. When she opened her eyes, her house had disappeared, and her mother was staring in shock. Don't worry, Ma. Maybe this next ball will bring back a better house. She brought the next ball, but her mother screamed. This brought out all the neighbors as well as Nettie. Both mother and daughter were surrounded by snakes. They started yelling for Nettie to help, but she didn't know what to do. June brought the next ball, but a swarm of bees was unleashed. My friends. A swarm of bees. That's my friends, guys. That's you guys attacking her. Hurted. Nettie couldn't let them get hurt. So without thinking, she ran through the snakes and the bees and tried to bring them out. Such a darling. As soon as her life seemed to be in danger, the snakes and bees disappeared. This was a sign to all the villagers that June and her mother had ill-treated Nettie and that they were selfish and didn't have kind thoughts. All the neighbors turned away from them as they stood there in shame. But Nettie invited them into her home and treated them well. Over time, they gradually changed and their home returned. They had learned a valuable lesson and they tried hard not to be envious, greedy, or unkind to others. Wonderful story, I tell you. It's finished, guys. No, let me say that. Who was the lady for this book? The lady that I mispronounced her name, Mirana. Sorry. Big up to you. And this is what I have to say about folk tales or folk stories. They always leave with a valuable lesson or a moral, and that's why I treasure folk tales from my Caribbean countries. Because why wouldn't you want to hear a story that tells a lesson or share a lesson? You understand? Just like the Bible. You read it to get understanding and it teaches you to be a better person. and to live godly. So that's the end of the story, and if you like, probably I'll do a part 2 to another story. But I really hope you enjoy. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you do enjoy, please comment to say that you do enjoy. I would really appreciate that. And it's done. Be buzzy.